Ta-da! So here we are working in the kitchen-based shop today. We got the LSA Snout back from Olson Kustom Works. Appears they've done just a fabulous job of getting this guy machined and put back together. So what all do they do? Well, the most important part is they have to mill down the actual shaft, or the snout, where the main shaft runs through, so that we can put this longer pulley on. Most of you already know normal LSA spacing, the belt is all the way out here, and to move it to C5 spacing we come all the way back to here. So they also tap and plug these two ports, which you won't use. I think there's a bolt hole or something. I already forget what it looks like, but they weld that in and then mill the rest of this out so that you can see how far back that pulley goes. Some of you might remember the sloppy mechanics shenanigans. Maybe shenanigans isn't quite the right word, but there was a little bit of trouble there. But I think everybody learned something from it, so that's always a good thing. But I've noticed that Olson has started, looks like just doing a little tiny TIG weld to the hub onto the shaft to keep this hub from migrating. So that's a nice improvement. Like I said, I think everybody kind of learned from that incident between Olson and sloppy mechanics. So we're going to go ahead and get some silicone on this guy and get him bolted back on. All I have at the moment is some ultra copper. Should work just fine. So this is what I ended up with. Try not to make a huge mess and keep it thin. It's a very thin layer, even though it might look like it's kind of thick, it's not really. You don't want a metric ton of squeeze out of the silicone to get inside any of the inlet or even where the isolator goes. So now that we've got that mess handled, I learned that this is a Lingenfelter solid isolator. I guess it's a pretty nice piece. Seems to be nice and lightweight. A little different than some of the other solid isolators that are out there. So we'll go ahead and drop that guy in. I did not observe any kind of markings that says forward or aft. See if I can get right in the silicone. Okay. Goes without saying, you gotta line your drive pins up. I'm gonna clean some of the silicone off in this corner now. Should look a little better on the finished product. foot-pounds on these bolts. More pass. Not too bad on our squeeze out. You don't want any more than that. I prefer to just leave it instead of trying to smear it all around. To clean up any excess. Bypass valve. We don't need that boost pressure sensor that normally would be on this from the factory. We don't have any way to control it anyways. It's electronic. I would think basically we want to just set it up so that the lever is hitting the stop. Not open, not pushing back on it too hard. So now that that sensor's gone that I was talking about earlier, there's a really simple bypass using the factory hose. That's all we do with that guy. This guy gets left open, and everything should work just fine. I'm not positive, but I think this is where I'm going to be tapping into for my HVAC controls, which would, on a normal LS intake, be back here. So I'll have to run something up to the front. Obviously, you could tee off of that and do boost gauge. So right now, the valve is closed. Awesome. So now the part that we've all been waiting for. Wait, we already said that for this. Now the next cool part of this operation. And we'll be running a silver blade LS2 throttle body on this snout, which I already have in the car on the fast intake. So here we have a brand new CL1 lid, complete. New brick. I don't have the brick reinforced at this time. I don't know if that's good, bad. Not even sure what I'm gonna truly end up with for boost. I forget what size this pulley is. I'd have to do some research on that. I want to say it's like 2.4 inches, but I might be wrong. I'll correct that in the description if I'm wrong. But yeah, it's gonna look cool. Got ourselves a brand new brick gasket. In case anybody's never seen this before, there is a notch in the case for that guy. And yes, setting the lid on here is obviously just temporary because you have to bolt the blower on first into the cylinder heads and then put the lid on. I ordered a set of billet rails off of a guy on eBay. He's been selling them for a while for these blowers. When those show up, I'll definitely do a video on those. Should make it a little bit more modular and easier to set up on the C5 than trying to use factory fuel rail assembly. Get all these started before I take the screw gun to them. See if Dexter comes running again. Gotta be like 100 bolts now. Alright, we're all done up. These things really are quite massive for what they are for a 1.9 liter supercharger. But a lot of it is obviously the intake portion of it. Backside view. So in a C5 Corvette, this is going to be up against the firewall. We'll see how that's going to play out here pretty soon. Hope to be tinkering around with actually physically fitting this thing sometime within the next month. So Robert at Paddle Up Garage, if you're watching this, you're going to like this. From our friends at LSX Innovations. Oh, sweet, I don't have to buy another set of gaskets. These are our cathedral port to square port adapters. This is how you mount LSA superchargers onto cathedral port heads. I think most of you can kind of get the gist of how that's going to set on there. Yes, these do raise the supercharger up about not quite a half an inch, or maybe it is exactly a half an inch. I know people are probably also going to ask, how come you went with the LSX Innovation ones instead of other people's adapters? Really, the main reason why is because they fully mill theirs out, and I'm kind of a weight snob. Yeah, might be talking less than a pound, but I don't care. A couple of things to add real quick. Other things that you get with the Olson kit. It's the water pump and idler bracket. This, I assume, is just a new replacement GM idler. This guy's going to sit down in here. It'll give the belt, if I had to guess, almost 300 degrees of belt wrap. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's a lot. The other thing I wanted to point out real quick is this is in fact an 8-rib pulley. So more than likely what I'm going to do when I go together with this thing is I'm going to buy an 8-rib balancer. And I might not go 8-rib right out of the gate. Probably keep it 6-rib until I get everything squared away. 8-rib stuff is kind of expensive, so. But I did want to point out that it can run 8-rib. More grip, less belt slip, always a good thing. That thing is heavy enough, so I would like to save a little weight where it can be saved. Here's our bolt kit. Obviously it takes longer bolts to run the adapters. And I went ahead and bought their crank pinning kit. We'll talk more about that at a later time. So, man, this is going to be cool. Stay tuned for future videos on this project. I'd imagine there will probably be a half dozen of them or so until we get this guy running. Look at that. Still made in the uses. You don't see that every day anymore. But yeah, like I said, I'm really excited to get this going. If any of y'all have any questions on how this is going to be done or offer any advice, I'll take advice. I don't care if I like it or not. Any advice is good. You learn from it. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, you know where to put them. See you on the next one.